Hello again. Welcome back. As usual, this is Becca going by Nightcat or Nightcat's Meow when online, and welcome back for another week of Coder Kitty Teaches Linden's Scripting Language. Yes, I finally got some feedback on that idea, and all those who chose to respond dug the name of that, so we're kind of making that official. So, all right. By the way, thank you to all of the feedback that I've been getting. It is greatly appreciated. There was actually a point when this series sort of stalled out for a while because I thought nobody was paying any attention to it because my view numbers were tanking completely. And the feedback I've been getting now has been really, really encouraging. The comments it tells me, getting comments in there just tells me that people are actually appreciating this. And that can keep me going, especially when things get hard. Like I want to be curled up under multiple layers of comforters because I'm not feeling my best, like right now. And I'm not feeling my best because, as you can hear, my voice is a little bit strained. I'm a little bit under the weather and a little bit run down. Last week's episode was actually pre-recorded as sort of my backup for if I was going to miss a week. And that turned out to be for last week because I was away on a trip in Florida. And I didn't mention this early because, that chance that one person out there who scans through these might have ill intentions. Not all y'all that are seriously trying to learn coding, but somebody might come across it. And, basic internet safety, don't announce you're going to be out of town for a week until after you get back. Not unless you're making absolutely sure it's only going out to people you know and trust. So that was what was up with that. This week we will go through and talk about the mail server setup. And I've got pretty well planned out how I'm going to do that. But first, I did get a comment back from somebody who watches in SL here. Or I got feedback in SL from somebody who watches here. And that is from a tag scientist. And he sent me a little message about trouble they were having with a tutorial where, with reading the note cards, how it didn't necessarily reset which line it was reading correctly, which was my mistake. I admit I made a small mistake. I do these off the cuff. I don't necessarily plan everything out in advance as much as I should. But as Tag had figured out for, I assume, himself, I'm not really sure. If I'm wrong, I apologize. It just sounded like kind of a guy handle there, Tag Scientist. Though if you're a girl type, go you. Good to see more of us getting into coding. But anyway, enough of that miscellaneous rambling. Just adding a reminder that line equals 0 before it processes through all of this is all it takes to make sure that that stays on track. That is a particularly important, useful thing to make sure it resets, and it was my mistake for not including that. Good catch there, Tag Scientist. You are awesome. Therefore, this episode gets dedicated to your observation, and the fact that you solved that problem yourself shows that people are learning, and that is what this is all about. Eventually, y'all aren't going to need me for Linden scripting language, but hopefully some of you'll stick around when I start doing a different programming language. That's actually kind of the intention of this, is that when I feel that the Linden LSL has run its course, I'm going to pick up probably with Visual Basic, since I've been working on a major project in that recently, but also do Visual C, C#, C++, Java, JavaScript, keep going until I've run through every language I've used for anything before, and start learning new ones for the sole purpose of teaching them. Hopefully some of y'all will stick around for all of those. Anyway, enough meandering about that. The format for this one is going to be a little bit different for setting up the mail server because it's going to be based on a online detector. And online detectors are things that you can find out on the marketplace for free. So I'm actually going to guide through how to find a example like that and how to extract the pieces you need from it, and thus use that to help you expand your own capabilities. They don't have to be very complicated, and the basic function of them, just seeing is this person online, is adequate for going through and seeing if your various subscribers are online. It will take a little bit of manual maintenance, but not a great deal. In fact, next week I can make a way for you to show. I think I can do a way for people to be able to sign themselves up on their own accord, although this week it's all going to be manually driven. And this is a really great thing to set up for somebody who runs a shop that wants to do the occasional sale, or somebody that runs a club and wants to announce special events, because as everybody knows, our notice lists can get a little overcrowded, especially if you're not logging in every day. So, without further ado, the way to search that out price range 0, full perm, refine. Here we go. Now we're just looking for freebies for an online detector. So, scripts. Refine that a little more with that option. Come on. So just take a quick look through some of these. Zenmondo's mailbox. I actually know the guy who made that. Zenmondo. He's actually pretty cool. If you come across him online, tell him hi. Tell him that Nightcat said to say hi. He actually is. When I was still learning to code, he's one of the people that actually helped me learn, and he makes a few things available to people for that purpose. So if you see anything from Zenmondo, Code Poetry, and Steamworks, you can trust that. Really great guy. In fact, let's go ahead and pick up his version. Because that should have everything we need for setting this up. All right, it's going to do more than we're going to need. It displays an online status as well as accepting note card mail for the owner. So we're not going to need to have it send mail to the owner. We just need the online detection part, which is handled right here. Online query, request agent data, get owner, data online. Well, let's look at exactly how the request agent data command works. As I said, this one seems like a perfect opportunity to show you how to use freebies and samples to teach yourself things that I haven't gotten around to teaching yet. So we'll copy and paste that into the Google search. Here we go. The arguments are the key and an integer, which is a type of data. It says integer data is a data flag, and it gives examples down here. Data online. All right, all that looks pretty straightforward. So we're going to create a Mark I cube, add a new script. We're not going to need a touch start. We are going to need a timer, because you want it to automatically cycle this periodically. So timer, let's say every minute and a half. So every 90 seconds, because this is something that could get laggy otherwise. Request agent data. Well, let's use myself as an example first. Then I'll show you how to modify that. And we'll go back to our sample. It needs to be set as a variable online query, which is a key. Just like when we were reading note cards, what you send to a data server, the specific thing being sent to the server gets its own query. Then username equals data. All right, we don't actually need that. And what he does in here to set the text, we don't need that. We do, however, need the this, the integer online equals integer data. And we're going to need let's make it a PM. All right. Now, in about 90 seconds, this should automatically check to see if I'm online. And if I am, it should send me a message to come check out the sale. That will confirm that this, in fact, is operational. Now, the downside to how this is set up, in fact, for test purposes, I'm going to shorten that. There it goes. Come check out the sale. Now, the first problem is it's going to do this every 9 seconds. This is not a thing we want it to do. The second problem is it's only going to broadcast to me. This is also not a thing we want it to do. So, step number 1, we're going to adjust this so that it will send messages to more than one individual. So to do that, we want list subs. This is short for subscribers. Preferences. Whoops, not preferences. Profile. Grab my key. And you would put as many subscribers as you have their keys up in here. Step 1. Step 2. List active. So what you're going to do with this is when this script first comes on, we want to make sure the list for active has an entry for every single key we've put in there. So the way we're going to do that is, you know what? I have an even better idea how to do that. It just occurred to me. Yes, I do. All right. Integer I for I equals 0. I is less than get list length subs -1. I equals I plus 1. So what this will do, and we'll actually create a debug feedback just so you can see what's going on. Standard procedure for that is, at least my standard procedure, is debug equals true. I specify my standard procedure since different coders do it a little differently. If debug owner say there we go. And where did I put an error? Right there. Forgot my semicolon. I've had a week off. What do you expect? I was down there doing the Disney. With my housemate. Come on. You're about to. Oh. Less than or equal to. That was my own fault. It already was equals to. It needed to be less than or equal to. Or it couldn't be less than because it had to be less than or equal to. There we go. All right. Now it's telling us which one it's checking out. Now, we said we wanted to filter it so that it won't. I needed to make sure that it wouldn't just constantly respam the same person. The way we're going to do that is after one has already been checked out to be on this list, and it sends this message, key, we're going to give a key who, equals actually, I don't think I have to put that in there. So who equals and as I often do when I don't use something often enough to remember the exact syntax, list to string, the source, and which integer. That's what I thought, but I wasn't 100% sure. Subs, comma, I. Active equals active plus who. Who equals null key. Now, whenever this processes a key, sends out its message, it will add that key to a list active. Those are people who have come on, gotten their message, and haven't gone back offline. So we need to filter that up here. How are we going to do that? Simple. We're going to compare the key we're about to pull. So we want to do this after we establish who, because that just gives us an easier reference to work with. And we want to find who inactive if they're there, which is here it is, list find list, the source and a test. So if list find list active, which is the list we're looking in, who, and since it has to search for a list of possible options, we're just creating a list with only one entry, is greater than -1. -1 would mean that it was not found. We run the rest of this code. If debug Now you want to be able to remove them from the active list. The way you do that is else, and we're going to go back to here. Remove item from list. Delete sublist is the command. So we're going to remove list source, and you remove from what spot to what spot. So delete sublist, active, and in order to know which entry to do that for, we use the same list, find list, active, who, and we give that to an integer. So when it's run through in a separate attempt here, which will only run the list for active, when it runs that, it will search. They will, if they come up as online, now you see that doesn't quite work for us because that would just ping them again. So we have to have a specific switch to throw. So we need an integer message. Message will equal true when you're running the base search. Actually, we should move that into here. If online and message, boom. This way, at the conclusion of this, when we run to see if somebody should be removed from the active list, we turn message off and it will not be able to run that. This way, that will enable us to remove entries from the list. So, the last thing we're going to do also make sure who equals null key from that as well. Message equals false. We do not need to filter for if it shows up in active this time. You change both of those list references to active. So now with message false, it's going through and seeing who will be removed from the list. And I made a small error. What did I do? I am out of it if I'm forgetting semicolons. I make a point of telling you so many times, love your semicolons. Here we go. Yep, there it goes. It automatically filtered out from sending me more spam. So, if you want on your own initiative, you can combine what I just did with the gift system with the greeters to send people note cards talking about a sale or sample items or free gifts to encourage them to come to your event, or themed items to help encourage a specific event at a club, or any other type of occasion you can think of. You can send these things. It will automatically do so when they come online, so it won't get trapped up in the offline messages, since it will only send when they are indeed online. And next week we will discuss ways that people can manually add themselves to it. Right now, given the way this is written, all you have to do if somebody wants to be on your mailing list or gives approval to be on your mailing list is add their key to a list up here. Just give a comma, quotation mark, whatever their key is, and another quotation mark. They're on the list. Script takes care of everything else. Next week, what I will do is create something where a thing where people can get a message to voluntarily opt in. It will store the message, and it will prompt the owner to go through and update an onboard note card. I can also set it to preserve any that have been added since that last update in some part of the object automatically, but it's still going to require a certain amount of maintenance on behalf of the owner. I can also create a thing wherein people can choose to opt out of receiving the messages, so it'll function much more like a proper mailing list. But this is about enough for one particular day's video. So next week I will go into the details for how I see you can set up all the rest of this. All that told, thank you again for watching. I deeply appreciate any commentary you have. Also, I have now running a Discord server specifically for specifically for these tutorials, for questions, for requests, socializing, helping each other with things. The link to that Discord server is going to be in the description of this video. I've already had a couple of you show up and start hanging out. It's not very active yet, but it'll be a good way to discuss topics, discuss help, help each other out when I'm not online. I will try to check it with some regularity. And if you have specific builds you'd like me to talk about, or specific topics or commands you'd like me to go in more depth, quick answers I can provide there. Longer ones will become topics for videos. Anyway, thank you all again. And as usual, good day, good luck, happy coding.